Hey there! So, today I'll be showing you how to draw portraits in my style. I mean, it might be other people's style as well, but this is how I like to go over drawing a portrait. What I'll be showing you is divided in some phases. The first phase is the rough sketch phase, in which you just throw the basic sketch, not caring much about it. I'll actually show it in real time how I do it. It's not supposed to take very long, but not too little either. You have to get a basic idea of where everything is going to be. Then we'll go over in a more detailed way, make some measurements here and there, and fix the sketch all around. Then we'll go over shading, which is gonna be a real quick one since I really had to finish this one fast. It was a gift which I had to deliver tomorrow. Generally, when sketching, people like to take the nose as a measure point. For example, if you've studied anatomy, you know that the nose divides the head in the middle, and the head is in total 4 noses tall, including the hairline. The face is only 3 noses. Actually, you will see me do some measurements by using the pencil. How you do that? Here, let me show you real quick. You extend your arm as far as possible. From the tip of the pencil to your big thumb, you measure the distance and keep it that way. Do not remove your finger from the point that you're keeping it right now. After that, you measure in the picture how many times does that length that you measured fit inside the picture. By that logic, you go over the drawing, draw a space. Let me show you in Photoshop how you take that measurement and apply it in the drawing. So, I take this space, and depending on how many times it fit in the picture, I sort of project it in the drawing. And that's very easy. You just have to measure. 1 for the forehead, 1 for the bottom of the chin, and a little for the hair, depending on how much hair the person has. That's the most basic idea behind measuring, and mostly anyone can do it. Of course, if you're experienced and you have a trained eye, you can make some pretty spot-on measurements only by using your eye, not really measuring with your pencil. But that thing comes with a lot of experience, and don't try to do it as a beginner, because you might end up in some really difficult situations, especially if you go on and add lots of detail on the sketch. It's not that good. Trust me, I've been there many times. It actually takes a lot of bravery to accept that you're not really that good in what you're doing at the moment. That's the first step to understand what's wrong and become someone better. Because there have been many instances where I found myself not wanting to erase something even though I knew it was wrong, but I felt so bad knowing that I worked so hard on that and that I had to erase it. Erasing is never wrong. Erasing is always good if you know what the next step is going to be, and if you can see the mistakes. Sometimes you might not even see the mistakes. That's when you have to take a break and analyze the drawing after your eyes have rested. The human brain has this thing that if it stares at something for a long time, it's going to start to see it as being right and actually like it. Some people might even ask, what's more important, the sketch or good shading? Now, that topic is really arguable, since even before, artists used to be divided in 2 fronts in a way. The Romanticism artists and the Neoclassicism artists. Neoclassicism artists believed that the sketching and right proportional drawing is the most important part of the painting, and coloring comes second, while the Romanticism artists believed that sketching is not really that important, but the coloring is what has to convey the emotion of the scene. So it really depends on the person. I myself have instances where drawing can be more important, But in some other instances, the coloring can be more important. A good example are landscapes or really emotional drawings that you want to convey a mood. Like, let's say you're feeling really sad, or you want to express something that makes other people feel sad. The sketching is not really that important. You have to use really cold colors, really dark, contrasting environments. Maybe make the coloring kind of scary in some way or uncomfortable for the viewer. Of course, this is not the best sketch out there, and I'm not the best artist out there, but the theory is almost the same for everyone. I'm also learning myself still, I'm not that old. Each person develops at a different pace, and that's not a problem, that's actually normal and very good. Don't really blame yourself if you're not feeling good enough, or you feel like that other dude is better than you. Eventually, you just have to be yourself and do what you find unique about yourself. Do what makes you feel good. Don't try to go and pursue what other people think should be the right path for you. Don't go following paths that other people have already stepped for you. Go on and step on your own road. Make your own way so that people can look ahead and see the road you have stepped on. Maybe admire it. Someday desire to reach it. Okay, this got kinda too deep for just a drawing tutorial, but hey, isn't that good? Moving on the video. So yeah, after you finish the sketch, you'll have to go on to shading. Now, the way I shaded this drawing is with the technique that I use most of the time. I just divide where the light and shadows are going to be. If you noticed, during the sketching phase, I draw some really faint lines across the face. Those were not really the features of the person. That's where I saw differences in tones of lights and shadow, maybe even colors, because sometimes I like to shade the colors as well. Now, if you've been in an art school that was very strict, they tell you that do not shade the colors. What they mean by that is to look at the form and imagine how light would hit that object if it was completely white. But if you did that, you'd just have a cast in your paper, and that's not the way I like to shade. Either way, what I do here is that after I divide the lights and shadows with a very lightly drawn line, I shade the whole part of the shadow. I don't really care if there are white spots, because the shading is really mid-toned. I can erase that later. Do not be afraid to cover the whole shadow part with shade. I've seen many beginners or students that are afraid to actually draw contrast, so their drawings kind of end up plain or washed out. Now the next step is actually optional. I like to do it since it gives a better feel to the human skin. I just take soft paper, like in this case I'm using toilet paper, and rub it across the shade part. What this does, it creates a cloudy feeling, a very soft texture that it doesn't even have texture. It's almost like you use the soft brush in Photoshop. Of course, this is not how the final product will look. It is just a base ground to lay the other layers on top of it. I'll start adding more details. Now I could go on adding details forever if I had the time and make a really realistic drawing, like the works I used to do at art school. But you can even finish it early, and that's not a big deal, as long as you're happy with it and you think it's good enough. Because let's be honest, an art project really has no end. You can go on forever if you wanted to. So the details, the way I add them, it's basically just copy-paste. I try to fix the pressure of my pencil, lightly or harder depending on what texture I want to give to it, and tilt the tip of the pencil so I can fill more area or add in more detailed and darker values. When the drawing is coming close to the end, I like to add the final touches with a kneaded eraser. I open up some lights, I might put some dark shadows to give more contrast and to make the image pop more. Since the paper I'm drawing is a toned paper, I like to use white pastel colors or white acrylic colors for the light. Now, this really gives a classical feel to the paper, since most of the classic sketches I've seen are in a white yellowish paper. Maybe it's because of the time that they've been stored, or maybe they were genuinely yellow, but that's besides the point. Yellow paper seems more antique and classical. So what you see me doing here is just adding the highlights on the forehead with the charcoal, white charcoal. I think that's what it is. I don't know exactly, but yeah. While in the background I'm using gesso, white gesso. Now gesso is generally used for oil painting, but you can work your way around it. You can even use it for drawings. It all depends on how you think of using it. There is no written recipe for anything. Just do what you find comfortable doing. Alright, so that's the tutorial. This was actually my first tutorial, and I don't know if I sounded too cringy or not that good at explaining things. But hey, give me a break, I'm still learning here. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my drawing tutorial, and I hope to see you next time in my videos. Be sure to leave a like if you are feeling generous, or if you're feeling even more generous, you can leave a subscribe there and yeah, make my day. So at the time of recording this, I have only 10 subscribers, okay? Maybe 11. This video is going for too long. Okay, bye. See ya. Ciao.